Vivo.
Ah, ok. Ah, bueno. Hey, ¿qué onda? Pues para rellenar el espacio, am, pues no sé si todos los que están viendo este Hangout, supongo que todos ya han leído los libros de la selección, pero si alguien ha llegado por curiosidad o si nada más para refrescarnos la memoria tantito, pues tal vez estaría padre que hablemos un poquito de los libros antes de empezar. La selección se trata de un libro que es una distopía, pero no enfocan tanto en la distopía, siento que se enfocan más en la relación en los personajes. Hay algo aquí, creo. Ah, bueno, donde se supone.
Hi.
Ah,
Can you hear me? Can you
yeah,
see
I
me?
can hear you fine.
Oh my gosh, I accidentally clicked the link to close everything and I couldn't get back. I'm so sorry. Okay. Ask your questions. 20 minutes later, ask your questions. Okay.
All right, it's fine. Nayeli Cafieri wants to know what inspired you to create this scenario and the topics of the books.
Well, the selection itself was inspired by asking what ifs in other questions, what ifs about other stories. Esther from the Bible was a huge inspiration, and Cinderella. We all know Cinderella. If you're not familiar with the story of Esther, there's this king and queen, and they're having a huge party, and the king sends for his wife, and she doesn't come, and he's humiliated in front of all of his friends. So they suggest that he has a beauty contest to get a new queen. So that's what he does, and Esther is one of the hundreds, maybe thousands of girls who's rounded up to come to the castle, and she wins, and she saves her people, and it's amazing. But I always wondered if maybe she liked the boy next door, and she sort of had to let that love go to do this amazing thing. Just very curious about her heart. And Cinderella never asked for a prince. She asked for a night off and a dress. She just wanted to go to a party. So we assume she's happy, but what if she wasn't? You know, it's hard to be a princess. It's hard to be in charge. So those two things sort of married in my head, and I knew I wanted to write about this girl who came from a very humble background. And she was going to get the attention of a prince, but she wouldn't want it because she was already in love. And she was going to go through something that showed her more of the world than she ever wanted to see, and that thing became the selection. So that was the beginning.
Was America's Singer inspired by someone in your life, or did you just come up with the character?
She was there in my head. Like, once those two things sort of came together, I knew who she was. Like, I had an idea. But I don't take anything from other people usually to put into characters. A lot of people ask if we have anything in common, America and myself, and I tell them that it's all the bad stuff, like stubborn, and like we jump to conclusions. So yeah, but she's not me. She's her own person, and I wish I had a better answer. But sometimes characters just show up fully formed, and you just got to roll with who they are.
I think that America was, well, I find it very easy to relate to America for some odd reason. I don't know. It's just that my sister is very different from me.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said that she often got frustrated with America because she was making a lot of decisions that my sister couldn't understand.
Yeah.
She read the books first, and then when I started reading the books, I thought that it's really weird because I found that everything that America does is something that I will have done. And then my sister said, that's right, she's very similar to you. I always get frustrated with you. So, but is there any other character from the books that you relate to?
I am very much like May. I think if I had to get trapped in an elevator with somebody, it would be her, because we would just sit around fangirling and be nerds together. We just both are sort of easily excitable and a little boy crazy, and I think we would be besties in real life. I love her. I love May.
Juvia-san writes, who was your favorite character from the saga? Was it May?
I'm sorry?
Juvia-san wants to know who was your favorite character from the saga. Was it May?
Oh, yeah, May's a favorite. I really love Amberly. I love Amberly a lot. If you're familiar with the story of Henry VIII, Amberly was sort of reminding me a lot of Catherine of Aragon, just a very proud woman. She sort of knew her place and tried to do everything she could in her role. And it didn't always end up fair for her, but she was still such a lady, like, at every turn. And I loved that about her. I love Amberly still so much.
Nayeli Caferi wants to know, is there anything that your editor changed you wanted to get published in your books?
A lot of people kind of already know this, but for the elite, we had to take the middle part of the book out twice. The story used to have a very different sort of progression, and it wasn't. America was drugged, things were sort of like sleepy. She was in bed, and it wasn't a very exciting story. So we get from the same point A to point B. Well, we take a different path, and that's actually really weird for me because I pay attention to what America says. So when sometimes I go to the book looking for a plot point and it's not there because we edited it out. So that's kind of strange, but it definitely made the story better. It was boring, and if you get annoyed with America how she is now, you would have hated her through that version of the elite. 'Cause she was just so upset the whole time. But yeah, so I've never had a problem with my editor. If there was something I was really passionate about, she would be like, okay, that can stay in. That's fine. And she has a lot of faith in me, and I have a lot of faith in her, and it's been a great partnership. I couldn't ask for a better editor. I love her. Love her.
Which one of your books was your favorite to write?
I used to say the selection because I spent the most time in it. Like, from coming up with the idea to the book being on a shelf in a bookstore, that was a 4-year process. So I spent a lot of time in that first book. But the one, after everything, I kind of knew where it was all going. So it was probably the easiest to write and was really fun. Just, there were some scenes in there, like some of the last couple of chapters were really fun. So maybe the one.
The one.
Yeah.
The one was actually pretty good, and well, I want to ask some questions from the one, but I want to save them for the end because they may contain some spoilers.
Yeah, we'll give people a chance to jump out if they don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Artie Moreno wants to know, is there anyone in your life that pushed you to create this story?
No one pushed, but like I had a ton of support. It's actually a really difficult job. I'm here alone in my office a lot, and it takes a lot of creative energy to do this. Like today, for example, my son is sick, and I have to be here. And I was like, I have a chat. I have to talk to people today. So right now, he's downstairs watching the Disney Channel and eating and drinking his juice, and he knows not to come and bother mommy unless he's bleeding. Like, that's the rule. So there are some days it's hard to get the job done, but my family is really supportive. My husband is so proud of me. So really, it's just been really, really great. Like, even my church, like, they've made meals when I was out of town touring for like a month, and they brought meals for my family. So I've got a really great support team, and no one has pushed, but everybody has supported, and that's I think makes a huge difference. It's hard. It's hard, y'all. Oh my god.
Is there a character that you like the most between Maxon and Aspen? Do you like any of those two better? Or who
People ask me a lot if I was on like Team Aspen or Team Maxon. And the truth is, I'm both, very much, because both Aspen and Maxon are kind of pieces of Calloway, my husband, because he's my example of love, so it's really hard to not pull from that. So Aspen is very driven and very passionate, and those are things that Calloway is, and Maxon is very nerdy and kind of sweet, and those are things that Calloway is. So it's hard to choose between one or the other because they both sort of they're just different parts of the same person for me. So I love both of the boys equally, and I was always confused why people would hate one so strongly and not the other. Aspen got a lot of hate, and it was really interesting to find that people would not forgive Aspen for leaving America in the treehouse, but they would forgive Maxon for kissing Celeste, and I thought that was a bit harsher. But people were like, oh, no, it's fine. We'll just let that go.
Is Fernanda Hernandez wants to know if the America that they choose for the covers is your ideal America or the girl that you picture when you were creating the character.
Okay, this girl, we've all come to love and know, she's not. She's a little thinner, I think, than I imagined America being, and well, a little. It's really difficult because this person in my head, like I could never point to a person and be like, oh, that's her. She looks like that person. But this is too beautiful for me to complain about. Like she is gorgeous. The covers are beautiful.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love what they did with the covers. I just think they turned out great. So yeah, and it is the same girl across all three. And I just think they turned out beautifully. So no complaints, no complaints. It's really hard to sort of pinpoint exactly what these characters in my head look like. So I'm cool with somebody else picking that out. I shouldn't do it.
Do the colors of the covers mean anything?
It did turn out the colors of the American flag. It's red, white, and blue, which is funny because originally I was like, well, they asked if I had any ideas for the cover, and I said, well, her name's America, so it was like the cover was red, white, and blue, like her hair is red, and like maybe she's got like white paper. I don't know. So I drew these terrible drawings, and they were awful. They were very awful. But my editor was really sweet and passed them along. And then they came back to me with this mock-up of a girl in this dress, and it was sort of weird and mirrory, and you could tell it was kind of in the future. And I was like, I cried. I was looking at a picture on my phone. I was crying because it was just so beautiful, and I couldn't believe that was going to be the cover of my book. I love them. I love them.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I like looking at them.
How did you come up with the cast system and all of the the world that you created? How did you come up with that?
Well, the world is sort of secondary for me. When I start to write a story, it's always about the people. I'm very in love with the characters, and I have to be connected and care about what they're going through. And pretty early on, I realized that America was very in love with Aspen, and there had to be a reason why they hadn't just run off yet. Like, why aren't you together if you're so in love? And it was because like they weren't in the same social strata, and it took me a little while to figure out like where exactly in the ranks they were. But I knew that Aspen had to be beneath her, and that was more of a problem for him than it was for her. So everything that sort of surrounds the people kind of comes up out of necessity because to serve the people in the story. So yeah, it just sort of came from thinking about how it would all work, and knowing like that not everybody was happy with it. There were going to be rebels, and some of these rebels were just angry about everything and wanted to destroy it all. And some people thought that there were things that were okay, but wanted to not tear everything down to the ground, but sort of make it better. That's sort of the things that we have like in the world now. So just thinking about the different pieces of that, and then finally putting it together in a way that worked for these people.
Per Hernandez wants to know, is there a scene that was very difficult to write, or a point where you hit like an author's block? How did you overcome that?
As far as scenes that were difficult to write, the scene about Marley and Carter in the Elite was very difficult to write. I had to do research about canings and look at the scars they were going to have, and just knowing about all that and then doing it to these people that I really loved was really hard. So like I typed up that scene and I pushed my laptop away because I was so mad. I just didn't want to even like touch it for days. And that was difficult. Writing about Maxon's big secret was difficult. Because it's just hard. Because it's hard because I love them. They matter to me. So knowing that they suffer is hard, and there's not really anything I can do. Like I'm just sort of conveying the story. I don't make up. People think that I should be in control of everything, but I'm not. Like I made the world and stuff, but they're just sort of telling me what happens through it. So those things are difficult. Like that they go through hard things. As far as writer's block, I don't think I ever had a really big time when I didn't know what to do. But if I ever get hung up, I make playlists, or I draw blueprints, I design clothes. I just play with the world until it's fun again, and then I can usually hop back in.
Salma Aburto wants to know, why did you choose a monarchy for your books?
Well, I didn't think it would work with like the son of a president. I thought this was one of those things where it had to be someone who was sort of born into this role, and that was who he was, and America was going to meet that guy. So it was kind of a necessity. Like all of the social stuff, all of the rebellions, all of the issues, it was just what the world needed. And it's weird. Like I wish I had a better answer, but it's just like that's how it had to be.
A lot of people want to know if you have considered writing a sequel to the books, or a short novella about what happened after they got married, Max and America get married.
Mm-hmm. Okay, spoilers. So if you don't know, Max and America get married. Welcome. No, we gave warnings. This was a spoiler zone. You brought this on yourself. So I think it's really funny. Like I thought I wrapped everything up so neatly and so well, so that when people come back asking for more, I'm like, what, did I make a mistake? Did I do it wrong? Like, but mostly it seems like people just enjoy the world and want to keep hanging out in it, which is great. As far as more books, like that would kind of be up to my publisher. Like those people are all still in my head. I know what happens like down the road. But as far as print, that's kind of up to my publisher. So don't count it out. Great answer.
Ari Moreno wants to know that have you considered writing other books that are completely different to the selection?
Yeah, we have a couple of other things that I'm working on. One is about sorry, I messed up my computer. About unwanted children who are sent to these academies to be raised to be the perfect companion and are then purchased in their teens. So it's a bit darker than the selection, but still very much a love story. But there's really not much else to say about it right now, because we had to like go back and sort of redo, because it wasn't working. What I was writing wasn't working. So like, yeah, there's lots of other things in my head. There's always something going on up here. So yeah, I will write as many books as people let me write. So I love it.
Is it true that the selection is getting turned into a series for television?
No, and this is a bit confusing because at one point it was. So before the selection even came out, it was picked up by Warner Brothers to be on the CW. They wrote the script, they cast everybody, locations, they shot the pilot, and then it didn't work out. But they thought that it was worth trying again, so they rewrote, recast, reshot, did the whole thing again, and it didn't work that time either. So currently, there are no plans to make the selection to a TV show or a movie or a Broadway show or like anything like that. But if anything happens, I promise I will be announcing it like crazy, because it's exciting. It's not one of those things I need. Like I'm okay if my books never become like any sort of film stuff at all. But it's fun, and I know that the fans like to see it like really well represented on screen. So if anything happens, I'll let you know. I promise.
And if you had to choose between a television series or a movie, what would you prefer?
I would prefer a movie. In the beginning, I sort of saw like how a TV show could be fun, because instead of a movie where you have to pick and cut pieces out, with a TV show you get to sort of add a bunch in. And I had written, the guard, I had written the prince, I had, all this behind the scenes stuff, and I was like, oh, we can put that in there. You can get behind the eyes of the rebels. Like there's so much that you could put into a TV show where you drag it out to like 13 plus hours. But I think it would work much better as a film, as a movie. So I would like a movie, I think.
Yeah, I would like a movie too, because they can stay more within the story, not
I
things
know.
that really.
It stays more true
Yeah.
to the story, I think, when you do it as a film. So I agree.
Alma Aborto wants to know, why did America forget about Aspen so quickly? And I think that the question gears more toward the fact that America was supposedly so in love with Aspen. Why did she give Maxon an opportunity so quickly?
Was it quickly? See, I didn't think it was. I think she just assumed she had lost that chance, like that was sort of done. And if Aspen had not been drafted and gone to the palace, like I think that would have sort of everything would have ended much quicker. I think she would have realized how she felt about Maxon much more like immediately. But let's talk about like their actual relationships, because I think one of the things that was exciting about Aspen and America's relationship was that it was a secret and that it was very physical. And it was one of those things, like, I think the adrenaline of what it was more exciting than the actual relationship itself, because I think they were just so excited about what was happening. But if you look at every physical moment Max and America have, it's different. Aspen in America, it's like, oh, we're alone, let's make out. Max in America, he realizes how much he cares about her, and then they have their first kiss. He confesses about what his dad has done to him, and they have like a really special moment. He proposes, and her dress gets a little ripped. Like it's one of those things where there are physical moments tied to emotional moments, and their relationship works better. So it's not that Aspen never mattered or that she got over him so quickly, but I don't think that either of them, either Aspen or America, kind of realized just that there was more than what they had. It doesn't mean that it wasn't real, and if she hadn't gone and they were there, they would have ended up together and they would have been okay. They wouldn't have been unhappy, but I think they would have both been missing out on something, and they wouldn't have even known they were missing out.
Monique Mejia wants to know, how do you come up with the name of America, and if you could choose another name for her, what will it be?
I've gotten a lot of hate over her name, America's Singer. Well, because one, people think America is a terrible name, and they think Singer is so obvious because that's what she does. But her name easily could have been America Artist, because her dad is an artist. Her dad is a sculptor. Like, it could have been any of those things. That's just the one that sounded best with America, I thought. I thought America Artist, America Sculptor. I didn't like any of those, so America Singer was the one. Yeah. The name America it was actually a rejected baby name. Callaway would not let me name our babies America. So I gave it to my fictional babies where that name would be safe. And a lot of the names in the book are actually rejected baby names. Amberly, Emeka, Tuesday, several of them. Because I like weird names.
Yeah.
My husband is Callaway, I'm Kiera, we have a Gaiden, we have a Zuzu. Like, we're just a weirdly named family. So.
But it's really weird that a lot of people didn't like America because they thought it sounded
That's
nice.
Okay. Whatever. It's okay. You're allowed to hate it. I mean, like, I'm weird about boys' names in books. Like, I love the character of Edward Cullen, but I don't like the name Edward. Like, I don't dislike it, but it doesn't. I don't know. Like, it didn't seem to fit that. I don't know. So they dislike the name. I don't think that means you have to dislike the person.
Fernando Olivas wants to know, if Marley hadn't done what she did, would she have stayed in the selection and gotten to be a finalist?
Marley would have gone really far. I don't know if she would have won, but she would have gone really, really far just because of sheer love from the people. Her and Maxon, it was a friendly kind of thing. Like, they just, like, after a while they realized they didn't quite click that way. But the people loved her. She was so beloved, and I think that's one of the reasons that the backlash after what she did was so strong. Like, people thought that they had misjudged her somehow. But she went after what she loved, and I respected her for that. But I think, like, the people of this fictional country thought that she was a traitor. So like that was a weird thing. But she would have done really well. She would have done really well. I don't think she would have won. I don't think so.
And speaking of winning, another spoiler alert. Estela Delgadillo wants to know that if the Northern Rebel attack hadn't happened, would have made Maxon actually announce his engagement to Chris and went on with it?
I think yes. I think yes. And look at your face. I think yes, just because he was so hurt. Like, I mean, and he knew like the whole time. Like his little was like the bracelet and the way you looked at him and the way you said this and that, and he's like, I knew it was him, and I was waiting for you to tell me, and you never did, and I caught you in his arms, and there's no reason for me to give you another chance. I don't think he would have married Chris, and he would have made it look really happy, and I think he would have been fair and kind to her, but it's not what he has with America, and it's not what Aspen has with Lucy. Like when you find your equal. I mean, it's just a different thing when you find your equal. So yes, I'm sorry. He would have married Chris.
Heartbroken.
And people have been freaking out because I told them there was a different ending. Like in the beginning, I realized that I was putting a lot of words into America's mouth, and so when I got to the end of the first book and I actually knew her, I went back and rewrote the whole selection, and based off of that, I knew her choices in the end would be different. Do you want to know the original ending?
Yeah.
Okay. Just brace yourself for a minute, okay?
Okay.
Originally, Clarkson died. Maxon died. Yeah.
That's terrible.
I know. Amberly lived, and she adopted America because she'd always wanted a girl, and she loved her. And America chose Aspen, and they became king and queen. And that was fine with me because I think Aspen would have been a fantastic king. He's got stuff to do, the job. But that's not the choice she would have made. So that was the choice that I would have made her make.
I will have died if Maxine had died.
I know, people have been like, no, just why? And sorry.
I'd be traumatized forever, and I'd be like, why, Kiera, do you hate me? Why do you do this to me?
No, it's not that. I don't hate you. I swear.
But it's also, it's really weird because I don't think I've got a team either, because I like both of the boys a lot. My sister is really, really, really strongly, thinks really strongly about Team Maxon.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I don't have a team. I think I like them both. I really like Maxon.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, I don't know. I like them both. But also, how did you think that Aspen will end up with Lucy before the one, or
that was a slow thing for me to figure out. But it was hard to explain. Like, I really was hoping to sort of get their first moment on paper, and I'm not sure I did. Like, I think we have a flashback. I have this special Barnes & Noble edition of the one, and there is a bonus scene in the back of the book that is from Lucy's perspective, and it talks about their relationship, and you sort of get to see it through her eyes for a minute. But it was one of those things, like, she looked at him and was immediately like, oh, wow, and just could not get over him, and tried. The great thing about Aspen and Lucy is sort of without even realizing it, they better one another. Aspen gets a little less like headstrong and so worried about doing everything on his own, and Lucy tries to become braver and a little bit more self-assured because they both sort of, without realizing it, want to be worthy of the other person. So it was one of those things that was slow, and I thought Aspen was going to walk out of this alone, and Lucy was a surprise. And this, I cannot take credit for how most things turn out because I really only learn it as America tells me. So it's usually as much a surprise to me as it is to anybody else because I don't know until she tells me.
Carol Carstairs wants to know, how did you come up with the idea of Chris being a rebel?
She just was. it was weird. I mean, I knew from the beginning I knew that Chris was, and over the process of it, I learned about America's dad. So it was really weird that they were planted there, and I'm not even sure, like, finding that out about them did anything except show that they were everywhere. Because, I mean, you find out that Chris is a rebel, and then nothing happens. Like, I mean, it doesn't change anything. But it was just, they're everywhere, and very good at hiding themselves. And, yeah. So, I don't know. She just was. She just was.
And also, how do you decide which characters have to die in the one? Because a lot of people died in the one.
A lot of people died in the one. People have gotten mad at me over certain deaths, and I will say this over and over again. I don't kill anybody. They just die. Okay? Like, for example, if someone you cared about in the one was shot through the head, I didn't pull that trigger. You know, the character pulled the trigger, and I am just as upset about it as you are, because I loved her too. So it's one of those things, like, I have less control than you think I do. Sorry.
And how a character that I found really interesting was Celeste. How did you come up with her?
Celeste. I mean, she was just there. I mean, you know, there's always that one girl who is harder than she has to be. And I knew pretty early on that there was a reason that she acted the way that she did. Because usually when people are mean, that's usually a secondary reaction. They're afraid of something, they're worried about something, and so they put on this front so that you don't see that worry. And I knew that that was what she was doing. It took me a while to figure out why. But it was really cool, because I think it's one of those things that, again, like her dynamic with America, like, America is fine being in the background, and the thought of coming into the spotlight is terrifying for her. And for Celeste, being in the spotlight is all she's ever known, and the idea of fading out of it is, I mean, she just didn't know what to do with herself. So it was interesting, like, just how different they were, and then very similar at the same time. So I loved Celeste, still do. I always thought it was funny when everybody's like, I hate Celeste, I wish she would just die. Like, you hush your mouth. You don't you say that. So.
There is this question that a lot of people keep asking, like Veronique, Zuluga, and Flor de Papel. They want to know that what happened after the ending of the one with America and Maxon, and did they have children? A lot of people are asking that.
A lot of people are asking.
Yeah.
What can I say? I mean, I will talk about this soon. I don't think I can talk about this today, but I will tell you about America and Maxon's future soon. I think it's a fair question. I need to sort of, like, collect, and I will make it public knowledge soon. I promise.
They want to know that which of the covers was your favorite of the three of them?
Okay. I'm gonna say the cover of the one, because I got to pick it. Authors do not get to pick their covers. But I was handed, they showed me a couple of dresses, and then they showed me a couple of poses, and, like, this was the one that I liked the best. I'm like, okay, that's the cover. And that was really special for me, because it's a privilege, you know, you don't get to do that as an author. So I was really, really thankful, and I love it. I love how she looks sort of like she knows something that you don't know, and looks a bit more mature. I love that picture, so that's my fave.
It's really pretty.
It is!
Yeah. Your covers are one of my favorite book covers of all the books I've read. They are really, really, really pretty.
Thank you so much. Well, high fives to the gang at Harper Teen here in the States, because they're the ones who came up with this design, and they went with it. And it's so funny, because one of my favorite things was, like, seeing the different international covers of like Harry Potter or Twilight, and I love that. I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what they do with mine. And if you look at my shelf over here with all of my books, they are all, every country, they are basically the same. Like it has hardly ever changed. So they did such a good job that nobody wants to change it. So basically all of them are the same. I think I've only seen like 2 different covers.
From where?
One is from Indonesia. I think it's Indonesia. The cover of the selection, it's a little cartoon. It's so cute, of this girl. She's wearing a shirt and jeans, and she's standing in front of a mirror, kind of like, oh. And in her reflection in the mirror, she's wearing a dress, so like she sees herself like all fancy, but she's not in real life. And I thought it was so, so cute. And I don't have a copy of that one yet. It takes a while.
Yeah, because I've got the books in English too, and they are the same as in Spanish.
Yeah. In pretty much every language, yeah.
A lot of people also want to know, have you considered writing a story about Queen Amberly?
Yes, actually, I'm writing a novella from Amberly's perspective about her selection process. That, I think, I don't know if the Spanish rights have been picked up yet, but that will be out in December. Sorry, my earring is really big and my headphone is weird. That will be out in December, and it was really amazing to look at those 2 different things, because America and Amberly's selection process were very different. Clarkson and Maxon had a very different vetting process to try to find what they were looking for, and it's really cool to look at Clarkson at that age. It was so interesting. So I'm hoping you guys get that, because it's really cool.
Was Clarkson as evil as he is now? Was the king?
He was he was calculated. I can't say too much because I don't want to give away what happens in the novella, but he has reasons for being the way that he is, and you'll see them. And he's doing what he thinks is smart for his future. So yeah.
And also, speaking of Queen Amberly, but now in the books in the selection, was she happy? Because I don't know, I thought that the king was a bit...
Yeah, he seems kind of like a jerk, right?
Yeah, totally.
But Amberly did not see that. She saw this boy that she had grown up in love with, and she really only saw the best of him. And she didn't know about what was happening with Maxon. And I mean, to her last breath, really, because she stood in front of her husband. You know, she loved him and was faithful to him. And I think her only regret, she wished she had had more children. Like, that was her only sadness, really. She loved Maxon so much, and she so wished that she had had more. And like that was the only thing that really ever broke her heart, is that she couldn't do that. She was very much in love with Clarkson, and in his way, he loved her too. And that was it, and she was satisfied.
I really want to know, had America never joined the selection, will she and Aspen have worked out? Will they have stayed together?
Yeah, I think so. I do. I think I think we kind of touched on this earlier, but I think they wouldn't have realized how much more that they could have had. It's not that they were like a complete mismatch. They just weren't the best match, you know? But they would have stayed together. I mean, I don't think there wasn't anybody else in their sphere, like in their world, that they were looking at. They really only saw each other. And I don't think they would have ever thought to want for more if they hadn't gone through that experience. So they would have been happy. They would have been okay.
Alejandra Garza wants to know, besides your own books, what other young adult books are your favorite?
Ooh, okay. Most recently, I've really enjoyed The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender. I'm not sure if you've heard of that one. It hasn't gotten a whole lot of attention, but I'm not sure why. It's really beautiful. Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender. Look it up. I also really love The Book Thief. I think it's so beautifully written. trying to think. What else am I really into? I love the Lux series. I love the Wicked Lovely series by Melissa Marr. Um, Lots of things, and I like a lot of contemporaries. I think Stephanie Perkins's books, Anna and the French Kiss, I think those are precious. So lots of stuff, lots of stuff. It's hard to pick sometimes.
Do you read a lot of books that inspire the series? Was there another book that inspired you?
No, I mean there's the stories of Esther and Cinderella that I sort of pulled from to get like the original little kernel. Um, People asked if I watched a lot of The Bachelor. I don't know if you're familiar with that show.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I'd never seen an episode of The Bachelor until after the book was picked up. So it was like, it was weird. I was like, well, I guess I need to make sure it's accurate. So I watched the season of this show. It was so weird. It was so weird. But no, and I people ask if there was like a writer who inspired me or like anything like that. I do need to give props to Stephanie Meyer, because she made it sound like anybody could get a book published. She was like, oh, I sent out a couple of letters, and then I got published, and it just sounded like, oh, like that's so easy. I could send out a couple of letters. It's much more difficult than that. But if she hadn't made it sound like that, I don't know if I would have tried. So I'm hoping I get to meet her one day and give her a high five and say thanks, because it's been so much fun. It's difficult. It's a really hard job, but it's so fun. You get to do stuff like this and get to travel and talk to people. I mean, it's just so fun. But I don't know if I would have tried to do any of it if she hadn't made it sound like it was totally possible. So thanks, Steph. My hair is huge right now. Do you see how big this is? Like, it's just so much hair.
It looks nice. I like curly hair.
Thank you.
It looks really, really pretty.
Okay,
and the
good.
bow
Thanks.
you were wearing yesterday was really
Thanks. I wear a lot of bows.
I collect bows.
Do you?
I'm wearing a bow right now.
Oh, oh, I love it. That's so fun.
Yeah, it's from Snow White.
It looks like Snow White.
I will have gotten it. I'm sorry?
It looks like Snow White.
Yeah, it's from the Disney collection.
I love it.
I would have gotten a Cinderella one, but it was...
That's cute. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. My hair is a big concern in my life, so I think about bows and mousse a lot. So anyway,
it's really pretty. I really like it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Sophia Pryor wants to know which character was the one that hurt you the most to kill, and from 1 to 10, how much did it hurt you?
Hardest character to lose, because I didn't kill them. I lost them.
Right, yeah. So which character hurt you most to lose?
Oh, yikes. Maybe Celeste. It might be Celeste, just because I think that she had so much ahead of her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was so much more that she could have done, and she didn't get that chance, and I hate that. So, probably her. Although Amberly is hard, and her dad was hard, so like, it's all hard. Sorry. Anne, too. It was hard to lose Anne. People have asked me about this because in the book it says Anne was simply gone, because I had a hard time saying Anne died. Mm-hmm. And now when I go somewhere, people are like, what does that mean? I'm like, Anne died. And so I have to say it like over and over and over again. Instead of, if I had just written it in the book one time, I would have saved myself the drama, but that was a hard loss too. All hard.
Yeah. Jacqueline Camacho wants to know, why did you choose a star as the symbol for the Northern Rebels?
Okay. It just worked. It just worked. I mean, like the same way, like J.K. Rowling, everybody's like, why did you give Harry a lightning-shaped scar? And like, it just looked cool, you know? And I was like, that's true. It just looks cool. So, I just liked the idea of it, and I just thought it was really pretty. I like I do have my North Star on. I love my North Star. But it just worked, and I thought, you know, if they're Northern Rebels, I think the North Star is sort of like one of those things that like it just ties it together. So that's what it was. I mean, as soon as I realized that there were two different groups of people, and they had two different purposes, and one of them like had like a actual creed that they lived by, that was it.
Ana Beatriz Perrot wants to know, when you were writing the books, were you thinking about what the fans wanted or about how you wanted the books to be done?
It's really about either. Like, it's not about what I want and it's not about what anybody else wants. All I have ever tried to do was be honest to the story that America was telling me. And I hope I did a good job at that. Because it's one of those things, like, if I try to change it or shift it in any way to make like a point that I want to make or say what I want to say, it comes across as totally ingenuine and just wrong. And so it's not about either. I hope America is happy with me, because that's all I ever really wanted to do, was to make her happy. So it's about her all the time, about her.
Um, Sheila Mendoza wants to know, how will you describe your books with one word?
One word. Ridiculous? Ridiculous.
They're not ridiculous. They're
Ridiculous. It's a bunch of shenanigans. We'll just say shenanigans. That's the word, shenanigans. Because it's just crazy. I mean, I think people have asked why the books have done so well, and I think one of the reasons is because they're funny in a lot of places. You know, Maxon gets kicked in the junk, and like, and that's pretty funny.
I think America do that, by the way. She was like,
she thought it was gonna hurt her, and she stood up for herself. And I was like, "You got it, girl. Go ahead," because like, that's what you do. You don't let a boy, even the prince, you don't let him take advantage of you. So I was really proud of her. But she didn't know that he wasn't that kind of a guy. But like, and I think that's one of the things that it's kind of sort of like a silly dystopian. So there's shenanigans. I think that's probably the best word, shenanigans.
Another question from your covers, because apparently everyone loves them, is that, do you think that the covers reflect the growth of America?
I do. My only, I think, thing that I would have changed was, I think I would have had America standing head on in the last one, like Superwoman. But I do, because in the first one, she's sort of like tucked away, and you can't really see what she's thinking. You can't see what's on her face. And the second one, she's got her back to you, but she's turned, and she's like, okay, I'm giving this a shot. And then the last one, she has that very knowing look in her eyes. Mm-hmm. So I do think it reflects some things about her. Also, like, the reflections in the back of it, like, there's both like somehow more and less as like they progress. So it's really cool, all side by side. Again, no complaints. I absolutely love my covers.
And also, how did you decide how many casts will there be in the system?
That was a hard call. There were just some sort of like natural. Sorry, I'm getting questions or something. There were just some natural groups, and like once I got those sort of together, it felt like, okay, that this is it. But that's just what seemed to work. So I wish there was again. I don't feel like that's a very full answer. But I think that 8 worked. So that's what I went with.
All right, so they're telling me that we only have a chance for 3 more questions. So one of the most frequent ones is, have you thought about coming to Mexico to meet your fans here?
Yes, I have. I've been invited. Again, the international touring is really difficult for me. I'm under a very tight deadline right now, and there's other stuff going on, and I'm also a mommy. So it's hard, but I'm trying to get to as many places as I can, because I always want to meet my readers. So maybe. I don't know, but maybe.
Also, well, it's a lot of questions that I've already asked, but how did I want to know how the parents
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
um did America's mom know that her dad was a rebel?
No, no. And it's for the best because she had a blabbermouth. She would have told everybody. So Magda had no idea. And America, I don't think America ever told. So she sort of kept that secret for him.
And did you know from the beginning, from the selection, that her dad was going to be a rebel?
I, I'm actually not sure when I realized he was a rebel. It might have been, and then it might not have. I'm sorry, I don't have like an actual. I can pinpoint certain times where I figured certain things out, but the others not so much. And that one's a bit more muddled. Like I don't remember exactly where in the process I knew, but I think it might have been like in some revisions. I was like, oh, he's in on this. He knows.
Luis Enrique wants to know, do you think that your book will have changed a lot if instead of girls competing to be princesses, there would have been boys competing for a girl?
Can you repeat that one?
I'm sorry, because there's a lot of sound outside.
No, I'm getting some cuts, but
Do you think that your book will have changed a lot if instead of girls competing to be princesses, there will have been boys competing for a girl instead?
oh boys. I think yes. I mean, whether people acknowledge it or not, just the way men and women are is very different. So I think that the way they would have come at the event would have been just different. It just would have been different. I think the way girls act over sort of trying to get one guy as opposed to several men. So I think it would have come across different, but I'm not sure I could tell you exactly how. But yes, I do think it would have been different.
And also, the last question:
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, but this one is mine.
Okay.
You have joined the selection if you were in America's position?
I don't know, because here's the deal. Do I have an Aspen? Do I have somebody who loves me? Is the prince like as sweet as Maxon, or is it like a jerk face? Like, I don't know. So it sort of depends on a bunch of things. I do know that if I had entered, I would have been out pretty early because I don't think I have it. I don't think I have what you need to do that job at all. So, no. I mean, yeah, maybe I would have tried, but I definitely would have failed. Yeah.
If I had entered the selection, I think I would have been the most awkward competitor. I'd be like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, like, here are my hands. What do I do? Can somebody tell me how do I stand right now? I don't know. It would have been bad. The whole thing.
For me too.
Yes. Like, where are my sweatpants? I don't want this dress. Like, no.
I would have liked the dresses because I really like wearing dresses. But other than that, I think I would have failed horribly.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
But I think that's it because I said only 3 more questions and I already asked the 3 questions.
Well, if I could, let me say thanks to you for moderating and everybody for putting this on. And thanks for hanging out and being so patient with us as we figured out what was wrong. I'm really sorry about that, but I'm glad you guys came out, and I hope you got all your answers. So yay.
Thank you. You were really fun. I really liked you. At first, I was really starstruck yesterday, but now I really liked you. And also,
thank you. I
like
you too.
That I really, really enjoyed your books. I liked them a lot, and a lot of fans wanted me to tell you that they really loved your books. They enjoyed your writing style a lot, and they related to a lot of the characters.
Yay.
So thank you.
That makes me so happy. Thank you. All right. I guess until next time.
Yes.
Okay.
Y pues gracias a todos por estar aquí. Perdón por todos los problemas técnicos. Espero que se hayan divertido. Estoy tratando de leer casi todas sus preguntas. Pero pues sí, muchas gracias por haber visto el Hangout. Esperamos que se hayan divertido. Y pues sí, ya saben que pueden seguir a Kiera en Twitter o pueden seguir a Random House. Y pues espero que podamos tener otro Hangout pronto.
Yay!